And today we're not talking about gifts. We're actually going to be talking about winning back retailer deductions, which is kind of a gift that keeps on giving. And we're going to be doing this in our 30-minute fast pitch. So this is going to go fast. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get into today's product pretty quickly here. With that, want to introduce ourselves. My name is Allie Trong. I am the lead Supplier Wiki researcher. So I help with any of the content that we are working on when it comes to our ebooks, our webinars like the one you're on today, or any of the articles. And joining me and leading today's session is Nate Pero. Nate, you are a lead account executive here at SupplyPike, and you work with a lot of our smaller to mid-sized businesses. So glad to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, we were talking about this before. I've done a couple webinars here and there, but Nate has probably done, what do you think, thousands of walkthroughs of our product?
Probably not quite to the thousands yet, but I've definitely lost track of how many, demos I've done. It's in the hundreds for sure, though. It's been a lot.
Love it. Well, then we're going to get a great walkthrough today. Excited to get into that. But if this is your first webinar, if you haven't joined any of our educational webinars, we welcome you. Wanted to just say who we are a little bit. We're SupplyPike, so we create cloud-based tools that help CPGs reduce revenue loss. And we do that in a couple of different ways at a couple of different retailers. Today, we're focusing on Walmart, and we're going to be talking about our Walmart solution for SupplyPike, but we have solutions for Amazon, Target, Kroger, and some of the compliance programs in Walmart as well. And if you have questions about that, Nate and I can talk through that here in a second. And the last two things I'll say here is we work with all different types of CPG companies, about 500 plus, and that number probably needs to be updated. It is getting close to 600 plus in about 50 plus product categories. So across the box, really exciting. And then the last thing I'll say here is if you have a question today, I'll be monitoring the chat. So put that in the chat or the Q&A. And Nate is a wonderful resource if you have questions about SupplyPike, about the product, if the solution makes sense for you. So ask away, and I'd be happy to pitch those over to him as we go through the product. All right, well, as Nate is transitioning, I'll stop sharing my screen. I did want to ask the chat if people are interested in sharing. We can kind of tailor today's conversation. What tactics are your team using for revenue loss? What's working? What's not? I can drop that in the chat as well. But share if you have something that you want to cover today in our product preview. We would love to kind of hear what you're having trouble with, if that's shortages, if that's overages, if you're having issues with allowances. That's another one we've talked about. That can be something that we can talk about today. So as Nate is pulling this up, we'll get into today's product preview, and there it goes.
Can everyone see it okay? You see it good?
Looks great.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm going to give I'll run through here of our Deductions app. This is a Walmart example. It's very straightforward. There's two parts to it, the dashboard and the Deductions page. I'm going to start on the dashboard. I'll go through it, and I'll move to the Deductions tab, go through that, and that'll be it. It should be very quick and easy. Just to preface, this is a demo. This is demo data. It's not real data, just to preface that real quick. But how we get data is we connect directly to the retailer portals. So in this example, it's Walmart. We connect to RetailLink. If you've used RetailLink before, there's a lot of different apps in RetailLink, and it can be difficult to navigate at times. So what we're doing is we're connecting to multiple different places and streamlining all of that data here into one place to give you a very user-friendly way to view all of your deduction data. Now, as we go through the dashboard here, you can see it's very easy to view everything. It's going to give you all the basic deduction information you'd ever need. A lot of the times, and people I talk to a lot have to manually build out a lot of this reporting. We're doing it all for you. It's very simple here. In the deductions breakdown, you can immediately see all the deductions you've had received, what's actionable, what's awaiting repayment, what's been paid back, and even your win rate as there. All of that is mirrored down here in this bar graph. You can also do a lot of filterings with this. So specific AP codes from Walmart, different dates. We want to make it really easy for people to just see what's going on with their deductions in just a few clicks. That's what this is for. As we scroll down, we get more granular. I always say this is my favorite part, the deductions by claim code, at least on the dashboard. We're breaking down all the codes and we're showing you how it would, how many times you've been hit by that specific code by count and then by the dollar amount as well. So in this demo example, you can see for Walmart codes 25, 22, and 24, those are shortage codes. This is a good representation of what I normally see here. These codes are usually at the very top. But the reason why this is my favorite part of the dashboard is just because I know how difficult this would be to see all the different codes and see exactly how they're impacting your profits. I think this is a great way to summarize that. As we keep going down, we get even more granular. We start actually getting into some root cause information here. So we track all the deductions over time. You can look for trends and spikes. I really like how we can break it down by item number and even DC location. So a good example of this is if you see an item that's spiking in count and amount, the supplier will know, hey, that's probably an item we need to look at. Why is it getting hit so much more compared to the rest of our items? Same with the DCs. If there's a DC that's just spiking, you know something may be going wrong at that specific DC, which is very good information to see. Not only that is this app designed to make things easier, it wants to give you this information so you get less deductions. We don't want you to get more deductions. We want you to get less deductions. This is the type of information that can help with that. The last thing on the dashboard is this deductions by amount table here. This is good as I've learned a lot of teams going through these disputes have a dollar threshold. For example, hey, we don't even touch deductions under $100. We want to just go after all the big ones. A lot of the times, and I've seen this, is where the ones that are under $100 will spike up and be will be hitting them the most, and they just aren't going after them. It's very common. I see that. And that's good information to see here too, if if you have a threshold, if it's adding up or not.
Nate, I have a question just about this page that we get asked a lot, especially when we do these fast pitches.
Sure.
Who primarily is using this page? How can it be leveraged at the different levels, whether that's an analyst or, you know, your director of your team?
Yeah, I see a lot of the times a lot of finance people use this, like controllers or CFOs. I know really like this page. Sometimes we even call it the executive dashboard because of that. A CFO or controller, for example, a lot of the times they're not going to be getting into the nitty-gritty details of the dispute. They just want to see high level what exactly is going on. They can use the SupplyPike dashboard very easily to see that. A lot of times they'll log in, just check it for 5 minutes once a day or so, because it updates every night, and they could just easily see that. So yeah, I think it's really great for, you know, the controllers or the CFOs, top finance people. Those are the people I think get the most value out of this, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Thanks for answering that. And then you did touch on like that the dashboard's updating every night. That's being updated from Retail Link. Are there other integrations that from the data that is pulling into this application?
It's like 90% of Retail Link. There's one more type of integration we can make, but I'll get into that when I walk through how we're disputing, because it has something to do with the shipping documents.
Perfect.
Any more questions, or am I good to move to the deductions tab?
You're good to move to the deductions tab. Perfect.
Sounds good. Excellent. So that was the dashboard, all visibility. When we go to the deductions tab here, this is going to be where we actually help the dispute process. Now, don't get me wrong, this also helps a lot with visibility as well. And to preface again, we're connecting to Retail Link, and now we're showing you every single deduction from Retail Link and pulling it into a more user-friendly way here in our app. There's three main buckets we filter the deductions by. That would be actionable, in progress, and archived. Actionable is going to mean, hey, you haven't disputed this one yet. You can dispute it. A lot of times we call it, hey, this is money on the table. This is everything you want to dispute because it hasn't been disputed yet. In progress is going to be everything that has already been submitted, and Walmart in this example is reviewing it. Archived is going to be everything you don't want to dispute. So you know, hey, this is a valid deduction. Let's get it out of our workflow. Or everything approved and denied. So a very easy way to manage all your deductions there in those three buckets. Obviously here, there isn't all deductions. This is where a lot of people will use our filtering options to see everything and exactly what they want, just to leave all the deductions there. Now, you see how the deductions are laid out, you know how we're pulling in the data. I want to go through the examples now of how we help with the dispute process. So in this example, I'm going to go back to those shortage codes we mentioned earlier, 22s, 24s, and 25s. I'm filtering that right here in our app. So now I'm in actionable shortages. So these are the ones we want to dispute. There's 69 of them worth $441,000. There's three different ways we can dispute. The first one is just individually disputing one by one. Now, this is the slowest way, but I want to show you this because it explains how we're formatting every single dispute and why it's the perfect dispute every single time. I'm going to click into just this top code 25 right here, clicking on this arrow to get into it. So now I'm inside of this shortage code, this code 25. There's a lot of information here, but I'm going to make it very easy to understand. Everything you see here on the left-hand side is just basic information you would need to review or sometimes even manually enter in when you're going through the dispute process. All of it is already here for you. On the right-hand side, and this is arguably the most important part, is the proof documentation needed to dispute. All of it will already be here for you. If you're disputing, you would never have to pull a proof document again. We pull in the PO, the invoice, the claim, inventory receipts report if you want it. That's all generated from Retail Link data. It's all already here for you. Back to Allie's question, as she asked, hey, is there any other integrations we do? Yeah, the other integration would be the shipping document. When you're disputing a shortage, you need a BOL or POD, and a lot of times those are stored in different ways. For example, if you're shipping prepaid and you use a 3PL carrier, you're likely getting those documents from that 3PL carrier. We have over 100 integrations with 3PL carrier portals to automatically go to that carrier portal, read the documents in it, and then automatically attach it back to SupplyPike and to the deduction to save a lot of time. That's just one example. I could probably talk a lot longer about some different shipping document examples, but I'm not going to for the sake of time. The point here is everything's going to be here. Never have to pull anything again. And now you can just read, hey, it's ready. We have logic in the app that tells you if it's ready or not. So if I unclick the BOL, it's going to flag, hey, you're missing a document. You need this document for it to be a successful dispute. It's like that with every single different code we pull in. But now you can see it's ready and you can just click submit dispute. It goes through Walmart's portal like it normally does, and you just move on to the next one. That's the first way to dispute.
And Nate, I do have a question that we get often in these. Let's say I'm an analyst and I'm usually in APDP or I'm in Retail Link portals looking at my data. If I'm in the SupplyPike solution, do I have to touch the Retail Link portals when it comes to disputing or pulling proof documentation?
That's a great question. No, everything's going to be in the SupplyPike app. You don't need to go to Retail Link or any other place anymore to get anything. We want it all to be here in the SupplyPike app.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, a great question. Moving on to the second way to dispute would be what we call bulk disputing. So now you've seen everything and how we're formatting every dispute. Now we can speed this process up. So I just filtered the page out to 100 deductions. There's still 69 here in this example. I'm still in actionable shortages. Now you can filter out if it has all the proof documentation ready. So now there's 19 here. We know 19 are ready to dispute for these shortages. We can just select all of them and click submit dispute. You know it has all the documentation ready. You know it's ready to go. You can have full confidence in just selecting all of them and submitting the dispute. We can do up to 100 in just 2 clicks. I always say that's weeks of work that is just 2 clicks, which is a lot of time saved. And you're disputing more. The goal is to get a lot of that money back faster.
Mm.
The last way to dispute would be automatic disputing. Now, this is a preference thing, but we do have the ability to turn on auto dispute. That means SupplyPike, the system itself, reads when that dispute is ready to go and will automatically dispute it through the correct portal. Again, like I said, this is a preference thing. I've seen both sides where some people want to go one by one and do everything. And I've seen where people want it more hands off and they just want all of it to be automatically disputed. I think either one makes a lot of sense. That's why we've added a ton of customization to this feature where you can turn off and on different codes you want auto disputed. For example, if you just want the shortages auto disputed, you can turn that on. You can mess with the criteria of it, like, hey, only if SupplyPike's reading that deduction is invalid, I want it auto disputed. If it's not, I don't want it auto disputed. And then lastly, you can put a dollar threshold on it as well, which I touched on the dashboard. A lot of people don't go after things under $50 or $100. You can have SupplyPike just auto dispute those ones. So that is the 3 ways we dispute through the app. There's a lot more like filtering options on here. You can export. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all of those. In summary, I'd say our main goal and the main pain we solve and help people solve is time savings being one of them. A lot of people I've talked to spend almost all their time just disputing deductions. Not just Walmart, I mean, the other retailers as well. Some people spend their entire day doing this sometimes. We want to help make it very easy for people, give them this tool to help them save a ton of time. The second thing I think this helps with a lot is obviously the money part of it. A lot of money is just left out there on the table because of how hard this process becomes to manually do. We allow you to save time and to get more money back. And that's the pain I think we solve. And I've seen us help. Just personally working with hundreds of different people, this has helped do both of those things. So that's really all I have to show here. If there's any more questions, of course, I'm obviously happy to stay in and answer any of those.
Yeah, thank you, Nate, for walking us through this. I have a couple questions, and if anyone wants to put a question in the chat, I'd love to take a look at it, and we can pitch that over to Nate. My first question, Nate, for you is, we've got a lot of different features and capabilities within the application. Based on the work that you've done with customers, what application would be your favorite in terms of just the impact or the light bulb moment that happens when people realize that this feature exists?
In deduction specifically, or can I go to like any of the things?
I say the whole SupplyPike universe is your oyster.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is where I see the light bulb go off in people's heads is the shipping document part. I think unless you've worked in that very specific thing with gathering shipping documents, you don't quite understand how painful that can be. And the most time I've seen people get almost excited is me showing this shipping document part. So I would say that's the first one that comes to mind, where people know they don't have to pull any documents anymore. They get pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I would agree. From the suppliers that I've gotten to talk to, knowing that it will take to pull all of those shipping documents and then put them into APDP, or if they're using a different retailer, putting it into the portal, it can take up to 30 minutes per document
Wow.
or per dispute. So
Yeah.
it is a real time saver when we looked through that list and there's hundreds of deductions that are happening. So definitely a time saver.
Yeah. That was a good question.
Yeah. Well, we get lots of great questions from our guests, so I have a couple that get asked pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Another one that I have that I'm kind of curious what you think, Nate, is in terms of some of the other applications that we have. So obviously today we spent time in Walmart. That's just because that's where we started and that's where we have the most questions usually.
Mhm.
When it comes to the other retailers that we have applications for, what are some of the features that you have found helpful? How does it compare to the Walmart application?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's nuances to every retailer, specifically with deductions. So, for example, what I've seen from Target is it takes like 4 or 5 redisputes to finally get them an answer. So they deny a lot of things fast, and you have to keep redisputing. So what we've added for Target is a bulk redispute feature, which is really just a Target thing. Also, Target has like unpaid invoices, which we can help with as well. You dispute it just like a shortage, which is interesting. For Amazon, I think helping with co-ops is a big deal. That's is really new for SupplyPike. Co-ops where you really have an agreement with Amazon. A lot of people don't realize, hey, we can dispute this or that it's even invalid. And we're seeing a big chunk of that can potentially be invalid at times, and we can help dispute it. We've seen a huge success with Amazon with that. With Kroger, I've seen the visibility of it. I know that their portal, a lot of stuff seems to be hidden, and we provide just with the dashboard and things that I think helps shine a lot of light on that. So that's really going over. I could talk more about it, but it's going over the main retailers we support. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, and I just like to iterate kind of what you've said already, Nate, is what I love about SupplyPike is that it's built really based on who the retailer is. You covered that really well with, what are the main pain points of each of the retailers, whether it's Target with unpaid invoices, Walmart with AP deductions. We're going to focus on finding the solution for those biggest pain points. So love
Quickly.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining today. I'm going to go ahead and transition to share my screen, and I will put our emails up here. So this is the end of today's Fast Pitch. Thank you guys for joining. We really appreciate it when you guys engage with us and are on our webinars, asking questions. So highly appreciate it. Big round of applause to Nate for doing his first webinar with us. We'll be excited to see you on a couple more here in the future, if you're willing. And then the last thing I'll say here is if you guys ever want to contact us, so if you have questions about our content, if you want the Supplier Wiki team to research something that is a pain point for your team, or you're interested in learning more about the SupplyPike solutions and how it would match up to your business and align to the intricacies of your products or your product category, we'd love to talk to you. Nate would be a wonderful resource, so please reach out to him. These are our real emails, so you will get us after this webinar. We'd love to talk, or you can always find us at supplypike.com. We've got lots of helpful information there. So with that, I'm going to end today's webinar, but thank you all for joining, and thank you again, Nate, for leading us in today's content.